right, so welcome. This is Skim. I'm Scott.
I'm Kim.
And today we're going to be talking about the importance of a meeting, a family meeting we call it, or in our case sometimes we call it our admin meeting. And we've taken a lot of guff over the years. Like I've had family members just laugh at us and say we're crazy because we actually sit down and make a time every week where we sit down, we get our little notebooks out, and
Got mine. Mine's a little bit fancier.
we get on the same page. And this is so important, guys, and we recommend this to every couple that we counsel. Most or a lot of conflict can be completely done away with when you actually are on the same page. And you do that by communication. And if you're not setting aside a time every week to have those strategic conversations about what your week's going to look like, what your goals look like, what your objectives look like, it's just super important. And I always say that a dream, an idea in your head is a dream, but an idea on paper is a plan. Okay, so that is why we do it with a notebook. We get together, we talk, we plan, we make smart goals. And it cuts down on a lot of the conflict, because what is a conflict? A conflict is where two people have two different expectations of what's going to happen, and then when the expectation's not met, it causes conflict. But if you speak ahead of time and you're on the same page, then that eliminates that conflict. So that's why we're going to talk about today. So,
And it's I was going to say, it's real important to use a notebook. Because a lot of times, if you're like me, I forget what I just came up with, so I have to write it down. So
yeah,
it's super important, and also to do it a weekly thing, not do it like every couple months, because again. And
you'll notice when you first start having these types of meetings, they'll probably go longer because you'll have a lot to talk about and a lot of goals to reach and all that. But once you kind of get a basic idea and plan charted out, you'll notice that your follow-up meetings go much quicker. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and move into what that meeting might look like and what it would entail, so that it would be constructive and actually helpful. All right.
Okay.
So the first part of the meeting, what do we normally do?
We start with TAT, which I was going to actually write that down real quickly.
A TAT. T-A-T. You don't have to write it down.
It's You
don't have to write it down.
I was going to write down the acronym.
Okay.
So the T stands for Talk with God, and that's how we start off our meeting every time. And then the A is align yourself with your spouse, see where you're at with each other. Are we good? Or I've noticed a little bit of tension maybe this week. So this is when we kind of align ourselves. It's
kind of clearing the air.
Yeah, before we start the meeting.
Is there anything that's kind of we need to deal with, any conflict resolution before we get started? Because you want your meeting to be as non-emotional and very, just get through as many items as you can. And a lot of times if you clear the air and make sure that there's nothing, no unsaid or unresolved issues, it can help your meeting to go a lot more smoothly. Yeah,
and then the last letter T is to be thankful. So find something that you're thankful for your spouse. So I just want to put that up real quick.
TAT.
TAT.
So we start with prayer. Obviously, God is the only source for true wisdom.
Yes.
So we ask God to lead and guide the meeting and to be an integral part of it, so that we're following His plan and not our own, because we don't want to chase our tail.
No. We're going to just go ahead and do that, and then we'll...
So we can let's just do that now. Lord, we love you and thank you for this day. We ask you for wisdom, discernment, and guidance in our meeting, and that you would lead us into all truth, and that you would give us clarity and help us to be obedient to your concepts and precepts that we find in your word. Amen.
Amen. So the A would be align ourselves.
Yeah. So is there anything I've done to upset you, or is there any maybe things that we need to talk about before we start?
And this should be quick. It shouldn't really be a big thing, because later on when you get into the rest of our meeting, we'll discuss more. But pretty much we took care
Yeah.
We actually took care of it earlier today.
Yeah, so that you didn't have to go through that. If you want more information about how to do conflict resolution,
there's another video
for that. If you're having trouble having constructive conversations that deal with conflict, check out that video.
And I was going to say, this is a testimony because in years ago, like when we were first married, maybe for the first 7 years, if we would have had a conflict like we had earlier, this would not be happening right now. We already had our Bible time, and now we're doing this video. This would have never happened because we would have been in such conflict.
It would have probably been the silent treatment for at least a day or two.
And we're not saying who would be the one giving the silent treatment, would we?
Yeah. Who's the silent one? I'm not sure. So then we would finish up with thankful, something that we're thankful for. One of the things I'm super thankful for you is how diligent that you've been, how with your new diet and your exercise, you've been super consistent. Just thankful that you're feeling better and that you're following through. You're doing great.
Thank you. I'm thankful that you have been so open to just talking to me and just like hearing me out on different issues. You actually have been really doing that intent listening and reflecting very well. And I think, again, it has shown because when we do have a conflict, it's pretty much over fairly quickly. It's not lasting like it used to years ago. So I'm thankful for that.
Thank you, Jesus. All right, so that's how we start a meeting. And then we move into our notebook, which I kind of showed you mine.
Yeah.
Basically what we try to do is we try to break our lives into kind of 6 major categories. And in those categories, are we hitting the table? Am I hitting the table?
I'm actually hitting
You're hitting the table, okay.
See, so this is kind of like an example. And don't get overwhelmed because there's like all kinds of writing. I tend to be more detail oriented than he.
She writes a lot more than I do. Bullet points.
Yeah, so
but those
are the 6 spokes.
And this is kind of the wheel idea. It's kind of like your life as a wheel, and we divide each category of your life like you see here. And the idea there is that you want each spoke to be kind of balanced for a smooth ride. Okay, so say for example you're doing really good financially, but your relationship spoke is really short and it's very underdeveloped. It's going to make for a very bumpy ride. Okay. And
I was going to say that this wheel here is where you put your long-term goals. This is more for long-term, not your everyday or weekly goals.
Right, and we're going to talk about both, the long-term and the short-term or weekly goals, okay? Because they kind of work together.
Yeah.
So the idea, what are the categories? We usually break them into work, your work life, your relationships, your spiritual development, health, your instruction, which is kind of your education. You're always wanting to be learning something, not just stagnating in your intellectual development. And then the last one is planning financially. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're budgeting and planning financially. Very, very important part of relationship and marriage. And then the middle kind of the hub, you'll notice it says organized, right? So we're using organization to kind of bring all those spokes into balance. Okay, so that's why we put the organized kind of in the middle hub portion, because the organized is actually what helps you balance all those spokes.
And we're all about acronyms.
Can you tell?
And so this is the acronym for those different spokes is worship, with O for organized being the hub.
Yeah, and that's taken from Romans 12:1. It says, "Therefore I urge you, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship." So what is worship? Worship is taking every aspect of your life and submitting it to God as an act of worship, okay? So let's get into what the meeting would look like then. We want to break down some goals, right? We want to break down each one of these categories. We thought we would just take the health spoke. The health spoke is something that we're really focusing on right now. So we just thought we would use that as an example. You can take whatever, all the spokes and kind of give it a similar treatment. All right.
I was also going to say is the part that we just did with the TAT, the talk to God and then align yourself and then be thankful. That's kind of like the looking up portion and also kind of looking at each other. But we also want to do the look back portion and also looking forward, right? So
yeah. So the looking back portion is just where you take a look at your meeting notes from last week and say, how did we do? Did we get done what we wanted to get done? Are we on track? Are we making progress in all the different areas? And that kind of brings in a little bit of accountability. We can share, obviously we're sharing our goals with one another as we write them. So, we're able to share those and say, how do we do? Did we get done? Did we make progress? And it works really well at helping not to let anything fall through the cracks.
Right, because then you can also be reminded when you look back, you can say, okay, I didn't get this done, so I need to forward it to the next, this next week. Yeah. So that way nothing slips through the cracks.
Okay. So let's take a look at health.
Well, do you want to talk about SMART goals first?
Yeah, because we're going to make goals for our health.
Yeah, so this is long-term.
Long-term, middle-term, and short-term goals, okay? Because the short-term goals are what are going to roll forward to allow you to achieve your long-term goals. So let's talk about a SMART goal.
Okay, so I'm sure you guys have probably heard of this acronym, SMART. It's got to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-stamped.
Okay, so basically, in other words, when you make a goal, it can't be like, yeah, I want to get healthy. What the heck is that? I mean, that's nebulous, right? You can't really put your hands around that.
Right.
So when we talk about making goals, we want them to be specific. Well, what do you mean by healthy? It has to be measurable. Well, like let's take, for example, we're going to take an example here of a long-term goal for Kim and I. And basically we broke it down this way. I want to end up being about 180 pounds, okay? And Kim's goal weight is 115. Okay, so now we're starting to get more specific. Okay, that's measurable. I can take my weight now. I want to get to 180. How much is that? Well, how am I going to get there? Well, I want to set a goal of 1 pound of weight loss per week. Okay, so now I'm getting even more specific, and I want to make sure it's achievable. Is 1 pound of weight loss per week doable?
Well, again, though, you're trying to lose 15 pounds, and I'm trying to lose 23 pounds. So that makes it more of the measurable part. And then how are you going to achieve it? It's through, we're saying about 1 pound is pretty much achievable.
Yeah, we have found through our research and different apps that if you're diligent, 1 pound a week is certainly doable. So that's what we have set there for the achievable part of it. It's a goal.
Yeah,
you might not hit it all the time or every time, but that's what we're writing down. And now the T in SMART means time stamped. You're giving yourself a deadline, right? So basically, by saying we're losing 1 pound a week, we can now say, okay, if I'm trying to lose 15 pounds, that will take me 15 weeks to hit my goal.
And for me, it's 23 weeks. So.
Which, if you think about it, that's not a long time.
Yeah.
52 weeks in a year, within 6 months, she could hit her target weight if she stays diligent. So very, very doable. All right. So that's an example of what we would do in our admin meeting once a week when I sit down with my wife. This is an example of how we would develop a long-term goal concerning health.
And again, I just want to reiterate. So that would be, if you're going to do like this picture, you could just put it under your health spoke right here. And that way you have like a visual to see it. Yeah. So this is the long term,
That's the long term. Okay. All right, so let's talk about short-term goals.
Okay.
And the different ways we can kind of break those down. Like we said earlier, she tends to write things out longhand.
See?
Oh, yeah.
Example right here. It's all color-coded, so I know exactly.
Yeah, that wouldn't work for me, okay? Just straight up. I do more bullet points, and I break the categories on my notebook here. Mine's real simple. I just write down the category, and then I use a dashed line, and then I put what I want to achieve, okay? So now we're going to break our health goals down into literally daily goals.
And weekly.
And weekly. Okay?
Can you see that? Here, let me hold that.
You hold that. All right, so here you can see that you have Monday through Sunday, and how I've written my daily goals concerning health. And I want to exercise 5 days a week. I do CrossFit in the morning, and then I work with Old Man Muscle, my friend Tony, lifting weights at night. And I've been doing that 5 days a week too. I've been on this hardcore journey. So I write that.
You actually entered your first competition last week, and he got second place, tied.
I did a CrossFit.
So not bad.
A CrossFit competition. It almost killed me, but I'm
still
here.
Did you die?
I did not die. It was touch and go for a minute there, but I didn't die. All right. So now, how do we do daily goals, and how do these goals, help me achieve my medium and long-term goals? Well, daily, I want to eat 20 carbohydrates or less a day. Okay. I want to exercise 3 to 5 times a week. Kim and I, we want to start developing keto-friendly recipes that are really good and help us to stick to our diet. And then we want to make sure when we go grocery shopping, we do that strategically as well. Okay?
Yeah, we don't want to have any of the bad food in our house. That's one of the things that we're finding.
Don't have it in here.
And we have to have good substitutes. Like, we've been on this quest for a good pizza because we like thin crust. And so it's been kind of like a journey as far as trying to figure that out. But.
Yeah, maybe we'll make a video about how we found these tortillas that are low-carb tortillas, and we're actually using that as the crust, and it's crispy and it's yummy.
And it's easy.
Yeah, so that'll be another video. All right, so basically you can see here that my daily goals line up with my medium and long-term goals to help me ultimately achieve that, okay? So 20 carbs a day, exercise 3 to 5 times a week, develop new recipes, and grocery plan. So you can see here that Monday through Friday, we've charted our course, we've written it down. So we don't have a dream of doing this, we have a plan because we've written it down.
Yeah, I was going to say, we didn't write down everything because it would get too sloppy, but just kind of giving you an idea of what that would look like.
Right. So basically the way I do it, again, this works for me. You can kind of do it some people do it on their phone, some people do it on their computer. But when I have a goal here, like say, CrossFit here on Monday. When I engage that, I just put a little vertical line through it to let me know that, hey, I did that.
So it's a plus sign.
It's a plus sign. It turns the kind of the dash into a plus sign. So visually I can see, oh, that's been, engaged. And then ultimately when I complete that goal, I circle it like you see here. And that visually lets me know I completed that goal, okay? That works really, really well when you really write down, like, say, 10 things that you're trying to get done under work, and you're using it as a checklist. And sometimes those items take more than one day, so you're ticking them as you engage them, and then you're going back and circling them as you complete them. Now you can look at it at a glance and go, oh, I did that, I did that, I did that, good. And then you can move forward those things that you didn't complete to the next week.
Which unfortunately for me, the organizing that back closet, the hall closet, has been continually moving forward to the next week because I keep procrastinating that.
There you go. Yeah. But it won't go through the cracks.
No, it won't go through the cracks.
It won't go through the cracks because it's been written down and it's being moved forward, and then ultimately you get there. Yeah. So that, guys, that's very, very important. Again, just to have the communication, set all those expectations. Now you're feeling good about it. You're working towards a common goals and common achievements. You can celebrate those as you hit, key points in your timeline, and it's very uplifting to the relationship. Yeah. And then on the other side too, it also cuts down on tons of conflict, because how many times have you said, "You're doing what this week? You didn't say anything about that. man, we were supposed to go over here on Thursday. Now there's this big blow up because you had two completely different plans for the week.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah, so this isn't just for goals. This is also for scheduling.
For scheduling and cutting out of conflict.
Yeah.
And it'll really build your relationship. I promise you, this is one of the most fruitful things that Kim and I do, and we always recommend it. And it's always those smart couples that actually do it.
Yeah, and I was going to say too, like, once you're done with like your goal setting and your schedules, then you can talk in a non-confrontational way about any issues that have taken place this week. And it's kind of good because it takes all the emotion out of it. And unfortunately, a lot of times it is the Monday morning quarterback. How do you call it?
Monday morning quarterback. Yeah.
Because a lot of times we're not in the moment. We're not maybe in the right form of mind, but at least we're able to address it fairly quickly the next week.
Yeah.
And say, okay, this is what happened. This is what I was thinking, and we can talk it through.
Absolutely.
And we have another video on that.
Yeah.
As well, as far as the conflict.
Yeah. So guys, that's I think that pretty much wraps it up. The importance of a weekly family meeting, or as we call the admin meeting, will cut down on so much conflict. It'll get you communicating. One of our biggest things that we realize, as we've done this for years now when we're doing counseling, is couples have a tendency to under communicate. So this sets aside time. It prioritizes the idea of communication and goal setting. So with that is Skim. And
if you have any questions, just comment below.
Signing off.
You know what? One thing. Wait.
What?
I forgot. Scott and his friend Jim developed this workbook, which has the wheel, and it has it's just a very easy way to work through
your goals
and stuff. So
and kind of organizing your life. So if you have interest in that, contact us in the comments or per
we can
IMS.
Put a link maybe to it.
All right.
Thank
so
you.
that's Skim.
We'll talk to you later.
We're signing off.